This week in Abuja, Nigeria's Senate chambers melted into chaos, not over legislation, not over national interests, but over the Senate president's ego. A closed-door session meant to discuss a planned recess instead devolved into a shouting match between Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senate Leader Opeyemi Bamidele, with threats of fiscal altercation barely averted by other senators. As sources report, Bamidele publicly denounced Akpabio as autocratic and unconsultative, accusing him of never convening leadership meetings, acting without impute, even considering resignation out of frustration. Now let that sink in. No debate, no dissent, just domination masked as authority. And what does the Daily Trust tell us? That Akpabio surprised principal officers with his unilateral decision to recess, bypassing leadership consultations entirely. Now, some senators quietly warned that this isn't simply a clash of personalities. It's a symptom of a sole administrator approach, where coordination is absent totally, as one source says. And I'm going to quote that source there from Daily Trust. He said, quote, Akpabio is more like a sole administrator. He doesn't hold leadership meetings regularly. That is where the problem is, end quote. And if that specular was not enough, the plot even thickened further as the Senate went on to deny entry to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, a female lawmaker, despite a court order confirming her right, her constitutional right. Akpoti had denied or dared to accuse Akpabio of sexual harassment. She dared to do this. Now, instead of a transparent inquiry that everyone has asked for, she was suspended, allegedly, for procedural infractions, not for the allegations, by the way, which were dismissed for technicalities. Now she is barred, her security withdrawn, her rights suspended. Now, this is not leadership. This is tyranny. This is a tyrant masquerading under the tonga of protocol. The question is, what kind of senator allows his female members to be silenced? What message does this send about women's participation in governance under this current administration? Is this the standard that has been set by President Bola Tinubu, that women who speak up are pushed aside, even in the highest legislative arena? Nigeria has always preached democracy, but here, power bullied representation. Nigeria has insisted on constitutional fair play, but here, in our own type of democracy that we've seen playing out on the theater of power, force substituted fairness is what we see. So let's call it what it is. It's an indictment on leadership as much as it is Tinubu's silence. If democracy is a dance, then Akpabio just tangoed solo and shoved anyone or everyone who tried to join him because, as that source says, it is a sole administrator. But before we drown into the power or the theater of power, let us pivot to those whose leadership lifts the nation, not crushes it, from the halls of arrogance to the field of merit, from suppression to soaring spirit, and across the sands of Rabat, in front of massive partisan crowds, our very own Super Falcons preyed upon early setbacks and delivered redemption. They surged to a 3-2 defeat against their host Morocco, but refused to bow. In the second half, Esther Okoroko opened the door with a goal from the spot, and then it went on to Folashade, and for the equalizer, Jennifer Echijeni, she slammed through the winner in the 88th minute, and Nigeria had done it again, unmatched, undefeated, and in control. And so today, the 10th WAFCON title belongs to Nigeria. Woohoo! Celebrating not just football skill, but raw resilience that is only synonymous to us Nigerians. While our political institutions crumble under, ego and the depletion of women representation, these women gleefully have built Nigeria's sporting legacy. They continue to do so, flying the flag high While some are clinging to power, the Super Falcons are clinging to a belief and they're flying that flag. While autocrats are now shouting, they sing songs of unity, strength, and national pride. And to them we say congratulations. They have lifted more than a trophy. They have lifted us all into a space where the impossible becomes a routine. They show the world what Nigerian women can accomplish when they are free to compete. So as to every single one of them, to Aishat, Oshuala, to Rashidat Ajibade, who's a player of the tournament, to Chiamaka Ndo Dozier, who's also the goalkeeper of the tournament. We salute you all, ladies. Congratulations for turning adversary to artistry. We celebrate you. So today, Nigeria stands tall. Let the Senate witness this. Leadership is rooted in respect for your nation. Let the nation remember this, that women deserve their seat, not just at the table, but also at the podium. Because when we choose courage over cowardice, honor over hubris, the nation wins every time.